Have you ever wondered why a woman suddenly loses interest, even when you did nothing wrong? The truth is, it's not your looks, your money, or your status. It's your words. One wrong confession, and she'll never see you the same way again. Never confess your deep insecurities in every relationship. There comes a point when a man feels the urge to open his heart completely. He thinks that if he shows his darkest fears, his deepest wounds, and his most fragile sides, the woman will understand him better, love him more, and respect his honesty. Society often tells men, be vulnerable, share everything. That's real love. But here's the hard truth. If you go too far with this, you destroy the very attraction you're trying to build. This is where the Machiavelli principle comes in. Niccolo Machiavelli, in The Prince, explained a cruel but timeless law of human nature. People respect strength, not weakness. Sympathy may be offered to the weak for a moment, but admiration and desire are reserved for those who appear unshaken. When you confess every insecurity, I'm afraid I'll fail. I don't feel good enough. I don't know if I deserve you. You give away the image of strength that women instinctively look for. Understand this, attraction is not built on pity, it's built on polarity. A woman feels secure, desired, and alive when she senses that the man beside her can face the world with confidence. If you confess your deepest insecurities too soon or too openly, she begins to question if you can lead, if you can protect, if you can inspire. Instead of leaning closer, she silently pulls away. The Machiavellian lesson is not about lying, it's about selective revelation. Machiavelli advised rulers to control how they appeared in the eyes of the people. Show them enough humanity to connect, but never so much weakness that they lose faith in you. The same principle applies to relationships. You must master the art of self-control. Reveal your fears only in doses, in ways that show you are aware of them, but not ruled by them. Think about it. When a man admits he feels insecure about money, status, or past failures, what does the woman hear? She doesn't just hear a confession. She hears a warning. This man may not be able to carry me into the future. She may smile, she may comfort you, but deep inside, something shifts. That shift is irreversible. Power in relationships is not about domination, it's about presence. The presence of calm, unshaken confidence makes a woman feel safe, and safety, paradoxically, is what allows her to open fully. If you strip away that sense of safety by exposing every insecurity, you hand over your power, and the dynamic breaks. Machiavelli would remind us, it is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, in modern terms, it means this: it's better for her to respect your strength than to drown her in your weakness. Once respect is gone, love soon follows. So remember, never confess your deep insecurities. Learn to process them privately, with discipline, with trusted male friends, or through personal growth. When you step back into her presence, you must carry yourself as the man who acknowledges his struggles, but is never controlled by them. That balance of mystery and strength is what keeps attraction alive. Never reveal your number of past partners. There's a rule that every man must understand if he wants to protect his value. Never reveal your number of past partners. It doesn't matter if the number is low, high, or somewhere in between. The moment you answer, you lose control of the frame. Think about it. If your number is high, she may see you as reckless, disloyal, or incapable of commitment. She will picture you moving from one woman to another, never satisfied, never grounded. Even if that's not who you are anymore, the image will stick in her mind. And women rarely separate the past from the present when it comes to loyalty. But if your number is low, you trigger another kind of judgment. She may see you as inexperienced, not desirable, not fully tested by the world. She may even doubt your ability to satisfy her, because women often equate experience with skill, even if that assumption is false. Either way, your answer creates doubt, and doubt is poison in attraction. Machiavelli would tell you this: never give away information that can weaken your position. Politics and love follow the same rule. The wise man holds back, not because he is ashamed, but because he knows knowledge is power. Every piece of personal history you reveal is a weapon that can be used against you, if not today. Then, in some future argument, some future test, a woman asking for your number isn't really looking for truth. She's looking for reassurance. She wants to place you in a category, safe or unsafe, trustworthy or dangerous, boring or exciting. But no matter what you say, she will hear it through her own bias. Your number will never be just right. That's why the strong answer is no answer. You smile, you change the subject. You give a playful remark, like enough to know what I want, not so many that I don't value it. This keeps the mystery alive. It satisfies the question without killing the attraction, because once mystery dies, so does power. Attraction is fueled by curiosity, by the unknown. If you reveal everything, there is nothing left to imagine, nothing left to chase. You go from being a puzzle worth solving to a book already read, and human nature values what it cannot fully grasp. The lesson is simple. Never play on her terms. Never confess details that reduce your status. A king does not report to his subjects. A man of value does not explain himself. He lets his actions, his presence, and his silence speak louder than numbers ever could. So when the question comes in, it will come. Remember this, your past belongs to you. Protect it, guard it, keep it in the vault. The less she knows, the more she feels. And the more she feels, the more she invests. That is the psychology of power. Never reveal your number. Not because you fear judgment, but because you understand control. Never give exact details about your money. One of the biggest mistakes men make is thinking honesty about money will earn respect. They imagine that by laying out their exact salary, savings, or assets, they will be seen as dependable, transparent, and trustworthy. But in reality, the opposite happens. When you give precise numbers, you give away your power. Why? Because money isn't just currency, it's perception. The moment you reveal the details, she places you in a category. If your number is too high, you stop being a man and become a wallet. She may see you as a provider, but not necessarily as a partner. Her attraction can shift from who you are to what you can give. You risk becoming a resource, not a person. But if the number is lower than she expects, you invite another kind of judgment. She may begin to see you as less capable, less ambitious, less secure, even if you are disciplined, intelligent, and on your way to success. She won't see the pathonally, the current figure, and women rarely separate the man from the math when it comes to financial security. Machiavelli taught that rulers should always appear wealthier, stronger, and more powerful than they really are. Why? Because perception is reality. The same applies to modern relationships. The man who reveals everything loses the advantage of mystery. The man who controls what is seen controls the narrative. Money should be felt, not counted. A woman should sense that you are stable, ambitious, and capable, but she should never know the exact ledger of your life. She should see your discipline in the way you live, your ambition in the way you move, and your confidence in the way you carry yourself. That impression is worth more than any spreadsheet. When she asks, "How much do you make?" she isn't asking for data, she is testing your frame. She wants to know if you will bend to her curiosity, if you will justify yourself, if you will put your worth into numbers. The moment you answer directly, you fail the test. Because you give her control of the frame, the better response is strategic ambiguity. You can say, enough to take care of myself and enough to keep growing, or you can flip the script with humor. More than I need, less than I want. These answers keep the power with you. They reveal confidence without revealing numbers, because numbers can always be used against you. Today, she may nod in approval. Tomorrow, in anger, she may throw your words back at you. You said you made this much, why can't we do that? What once seemed like honesty becomes ammunition. What once felt like intimacy becomes leverage. The truth is, real men don't prove themselves with bank statements. They prove themselves with vision, with discipline, with progress. A man's true wealth isn't what he has today, it's the direction he is moving. And when you understand this, you will never allow anyone, especially a partner, to reduce you to digits. Never give exact details about your money. Not because you are hiding, but because you are leading. Leadership requires control of information. A king doesn't tell the world exactly how much gold is in his vault. He lets the world assume he has more than enough. That assumption creates respect, fear, and security. So protect your numbers. Let your lifestyle show your stability. Let your ambition show your future. And let your silence show your strength. Because the man who controls what he reveals controls everything. Never share the scars of past betrayals. Every man carries wounds. Maybe you were lied to, cheated on, abandoned, or betrayed by someone you trusted. These scars shape you, and they hurt deeply. But here's the harsh truth. The moment you share those scars openly with a woman, you risk losing her respect. It feels natural to confess. Society tells you that being vulnerable builds intimacy. But intimacy isn't built through weakness. It's built through strength. When you unload the weight of past betrayals, she doesn't see a survivor. She sees a man still trapped in his past. A man who hasn't healed, a man carrying ghosts that could haunt her future with you. Women may comfort you in the moment, but attraction works on a deeper level. And deep down, women are wired to seek stability, not fragility. When you reveal how another person broke you, you reveal that you can be broken. When you tell her how you were betrayed, you admit that you were once powerless. That image never fully fades. Machiavelli would remind you, never expose your wounds to the world, because enemies will weaponize them. The same applies here. Even if she truly cares for you, the knowledge of your scars can later become ammunition. In a fight, in a moment of anger, she might throw those words back at you. What once seemed like intimacy can turn into a blade. There is another danger: comparison. If you speak too much about the woman who betrayed you, your current partner begins to feel like she is competing with a ghost. She will wonder if you still think about the past, if you still measure her against the one who hurt you. And the more she feels this shadow, the less she feels secure with you. The man of power never denies his scars, but he never displays them carelessly. He acknowledges his past without bleeding on others. He shows wisdom, not wounds, strength, not stories. A woman should sense that you have endured storms, but she should never feel like she is walking through the wreckage with you. So, what should you do when she asks? You stay composed. You can say, "The past taught me what I value today," or "I've been through things that made me stronger." These statements reveal growth, not weakness. They keep the focus on who you are now, not who you were when you were betrayed. Because attraction is about the present and the future, not the ghosts of yesterday. A woman doesn't want to be your therapist. She doesn't want to heal the wounds another left behind. She wants to feel like she is with a man who already knows who he is, a man who has already done the work, a man who stands unbroken. Never share the scars of past betrayals. Not because you are hiding the truth, but because you are protecting your frame. The past belongs to you, and its lessons belong to your future. But the details, the pain, the stories, the broken pieces are yours alone to carry. Remember this: kings do not sit before their court and list the battles that nearly destroyed them. They stand tall, wear the crown, and let their presence speak of survival. You must do the same. Let your silence hold the weight of your scars. Let your strength prove that you are unshaken. The man who bleeds openly becomes a spectacle. The man who carries his scars with quiet dignity becomes untouchable. Never admit current structural weaknesses. Every man, no matter how powerful, has weaknesses. Maybe it's debt, uncertainty in his career, lack of resources, or a fragile moment in life. But here is the rule you must remember: never admit your current structural weaknesses. Why? Because the present defines you more than the past. Past betrayals can be framed as lessons. Past struggles can be framed as growth. But present weaknesses cannot be disguised. They signal vulnerability right now, in this very moment. And when you admit them, you give away the truth that your foundation is shaky. Women are wired to seek stability. They want to feel like they are entering a fortress, not a crumbling house. If you reveal that your current structure is weak, she will see you as a risk. She may smile, nod, or comfort you, but in her mind, she begins to calculate. She asks herself, "Can I really rely on this man? What if he collapses tomorrow? What if he cannot carry me through life?" And once those questions begin, respect starts to erode. Think of Machiavelli's warning: a ruler must always appear strong, even when his walls are cracked. Because perception creates power. If the people see weakness, they rebel. If a woman sees weakness, she withdraws her trust. Not always immediately, not always openly, but subtly, gradually. Until distance grows between you, you don't need to pretend to be perfect. But you must never confess the weaknesses that define your current reality. If your finances are fragile, you don't announce it. If your career is unstable, you don't frame it as collapse. If your emotions are unsteady, you don't hand her the map to your chaos. Because once she sees it, she cannot unsee it. Instead, you frame weakness as transition. You speak of direction, not deficiency. If you are between jobs, you say, "I'm building my next move," If you are facing debt, you say, I am restructuring my future. If you are exhausted, you say, I'm sharpening myself for what's next. The words you choose turn weakness into evolution, not confession. The truth is, everyone has cracks, but the man who admits them directly invites doubt. The man who reframes them into progress inspires trust. Because women don't follow perfection, they follow momentum. They follow the man who is always moving forward, even when the ground shakes beneath him. Never forget, people believe what you project more than what you confess. If you project control, others will feel safe. If you confess fragility, others will retreat. And in relationships, that retreat means loss of attraction, loss of respect, and eventually, loss of loyalty. So guard your present. Keep your structural weaknesses hidden until they are no longer weaknesses. Show the world not where you are broken, but where you are building. Because the man who admits his cracks is seen as fragile. The man who hides them and works in silence is seen as unshakable. Not because you want to deceive, but because you must protect your frame. A king does not stand before his people and announce, "My castle is falling apart." He commands, he builds, he leads, and when the walls are restored, no one ever knew how close they came to ruin. That is power. That is survival. Never say you feel lost or directionless. Times when the path ahead looks foggy, when nothing feels certain, when life itself seems like a maze. But here's the truth you must accept. Never say you feel lost or directionless. Why? Because men are judged not by how they feel, but by how they lead. Women are wired to look for certainty in a partner. They want to feel that the man they choose knows where he is going, if he hasn't arrived yet. The moment you admit you are lost, you shatter that image. You replace the aura of a leader with the weight of a burden. It doesn't matter if she says, "It's okay, I'll support you." Deep down, her attraction fades, because attraction isn't built on pity. It's built on respect, on confidence, on the belief that you can carve a way forward even when the road is unclear. A man who says he's lost tells the world, "Do not follow me, for I don't know where I'm going, and no one wants to follow." That Machiavelli would remind you that rulers must always appear in control, even in chaos. A general cannot stand before his army and say, "I don't know the plan." He must project vision, even if he is still creating it. The same applies to you. Even in your darkest uncertainty, you cannot reveal it as directional. You must frame it as strategy in motion. Understand this, everyone feels lost sometimes. The difference between strong men and weak men is how they present it. Weak men confess their confusion and hope for sympathy. Strong men hold the frame, saying, "I am in transition, preparing for my next move." One destroys respect. The other builds anticipation. Because women don't follow men who wander. They follow men who build. They don't need you to have the entire map, bud. They need to see that you're walking with purpose, not drifting without aim. So, what should you do in those moments of uncertainty? Keep moving. Reframe the confusion as evolution. Instead of saying, "I feel lost," say, "I'm redesigning my path." Instead of saying, "I don't know what I'm doing," say, "I'm working on the next stage of my journey." The words you choose protect your frame. They replace weakness with momentum. Because the truth is, people rarely abandon a man who is moving. They abandon the man who stands still, who admits he has no compass. Motion creates belief. Stagnation destroys it. Never say you feel lost or directionless, not because you'll never feel it, but because you must not project it. Leadership is perception, and perception is everything. A king who admits he doesn't know the way loses his throne. A king who keeps walking, even through the fog, earns loyalty. So carry your doubts in silence. Work on your vision privately, and when you speak, let your words point forward, never inward. Because the man who confesses he is lost becomes a burden, but the man who frames his uncertainty as progress becomes a leader. Remember this, life will test you. You will feel lost, but power comes not from the absence of confusion, comes from the refusal to admit it. Never hand over your power through careless words. Power is not always lost through great battles. Often, it slips away quietly through careless words. A single sentence, a confession made in the wrong moment, a truth spoken without strategy. And suddenly, the control you once held is gone. Every man must understand this. Words are not harmless. They are signals. They reveal how you see yourself, what you fear, and where your weaknesses lie. And once revealed, they can never be taken back. A king who speaks without calculation invites rebellion. A man who speaks without restraint invites judgment. Careless words can take many forms. You might share too much about your past, reveal doubts about your future, confess insecurities, or admit fears that should remain private. In the moment, it feels honest. It feels like connection. But later, those very words become weapons. Think of Machiavelli's principle. It is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, what he meant was not cruelty, was control. Control comes from managing perception. If you speak every thought, every fear, every weakness, you destroy the perception of strength. You hand over the script of your life for others to rewrite. Women especially are attentive to the words you use. If you speak like a man uncertain of himself, she will feel it. If you admit weakness without balance, she will begin to doubt your leadership. Attraction lives in mystery and confidence. Careless words kill both. This doesn't mean you must become silent or robotic. It means you must be intentional. Speak to inspire, not to explain. Share to build trust, not to lower your frame. Reveal only what strengthens your position, never what weakens it. Consider how many men have destroyed relationships, opportunities, and even empires through unguarded words. The wrong joke, the wrong confession, the wrong admission of doubt, and years of respect vanish in a moment, because words, once spoken, cannot be retrieved. The wise man guards his speech the way a king guards his throne. He understands that mystery is power, and silence is strategy. Not every thought must be voiced. Not every truth must be told. Some things are better kept within, shaping you quietly while the world sees only strength. So before you speak, ask yourself, does this strengthen me or weaken me? Does this build respect or diminish it? Does this create curiosity or kill it? If the answer is weakness, silence is the better choice, because the world does not reward men who speak carelessly. It rewards men who control the narrative, who choose their words like weapons, sharp and precise. A careless man is easy to break. A careful man is impossible to predict. Never hand over your power through careless words. Not because truth is unimportant, but because timing and framing are everything. A truth spoken at the wrong time is worse than a lie. A careless confession can undo years of strength. Remember, kings are remembered for what they said, and destroyed for what they said without thought. Guard your tongue, guard your frame, guard your power. For the man who controls his words, controls his world.